Taylor's scientific management principles. Frederick Winslow Taylor was an American mechanical engineer who proposed the concept of scientific management under the name of the Principles of Scientific Management in the year 1911. He is also known as the father of scientific management. Let me tell you what made him or what motivated him to come up with the scientific management theory. So, back in those days, there was a scarcity of competent or good laborers in the industry. Taylor discovered that organizations and managers failed to effectively use available human resources and that no contribution was made towards improving labor efficiency. During his observation, Taylor identified the various factors leading to low productivity and inefficiency in the organization. So there were some 4 factors. The first factor was that the laborers brought their poorly designed personnel tools to be used in the workplace. The second one was that the workers received very poor job training and they would decide the speed of the work and the machine that they should use, and they would decide this by themselves. The third one is that the workers were hired on a first come, first hired basis rather than on the basis of their skill set. And the fourth factor was that the managers used to work with the workers, ignoring the important planning and organizing tasks. As a result, untrained personnel were in charge of these critical management duties of planning and organizing various activities. Based on his findings, Taylor criticized the ineffective ways of the managers to handle the work situations and also for providing freedom to the employees for deciding their work methods and speed by themselves. So, this is the background story as to why Taylor proposed scientific management. But what is this scientific management? In the words of Taylor, scientific management means knowing exactly what you want men to do and seeing that they do it in the best and cheapest way. Now let us go through the principles of scientific management. The first one is science, not rule of thumb. The trial and error process was used to develop the concept of the rule of thumb. So they basically learned through their experience. This is what rule of thumb means. However, Taylor felt that there is only one best feasible strategy for performing any activity efficiently, which is determined after a thorough analysis of the job to be done. Thus, it becomes the standard way of carrying out that particular task each time throughout the organization. Any job becomes more standardized when science is used instead of the rule of thumb. Furthermore, the workers are given a particular method of completing the task. This helps to save a lot of time, money, and resources. The second one is harmony, not discord. Harmony over here means peace, and discord is just the opposite of harmony. Here, Taylor stressed on the need for maintaining peace and harmony in the workplace, and that there should be no conflicts or fights between the managers and the employees. He said this because conflicts would only have one outcome, and that is a reduction in the organization's output or a reduction in the organization's profits. If there is a cordial or a peaceful relationship between the managers and the workers, where both value each other's efforts, there can definitely be a major improvement and development of productivity. As a result, the organization should undergo a mental revolution to change how both groups perceive each other. Mental revolution is where they both focus on cooperating and working with each other instead of competing with each other. The third principle is cooperation, not individualism. Different persons or staff make up an organization, and each one is equally important to the organization. Business is all about collaboration and teamwork, without which a business may struggle to achieve its goals. As a result, individuals in a company must work together to attain the shared goals set by the management, putting aside their personal aspirations and egos. Workers should not compete with one another at work. Instead, they should work together. Workers should not fight the management by making irrational demands and then going on a strike to see that these demands are met by the management. Workers should never do these kind of things. The management should also encourage employees to give their suggestions and establish an open communication system within the company. This can definitely lead to cooperation among everybody in the organization. The fourth principle is development of every person to his or her greatest efficiency and prosperity. Because no human being is flawless or perfect, and there is always room for development, Taylor thought that employees should be provided with sufficient training for the tasks they perform. Furthermore, training and development boost the workforce's competency, abilities, and learning. It is definitely advantageous to both the company and the employees if the employees are trained properly to do their jobs. This brings us to the end of the principles of scientific management.